What's going on, NDM crew? Welcome back to the third and final part of the Subaru head gasket video series. For those of you who are just joining us, check out the previous videos. The link will be in the description and there'll also be links at the end of this video. So let's get right into it, guys. Torquing these cylinder heads, you're going to need a torque wrench, preferably digital, and if it is digital, it's going to need to have an angle torque setting, or you're going to need to have an angle torque tool which attaches to your torque wrench or ratchet, because this torque procedure actually has a couple steps where you're going by degrees and not foot-pounds. Another quick tip, guys, Subaru recommends using new cylinder head bolts anytime they're removed. The torque pattern for installing the cylinder head is pretty typical. You start from the middle and work your way out. There are 7 steps to torquing the cylinder heads on this car. Step 1, torque all bolts to 21.4 foot-pounds. Step 2, torque all bolts to 50.9 foot-pounds. Step 3, you're going to back off the bolts 180 degrees in the reverse pattern 2 times. Step 4, torque all bolts to 31 foot-pounds. Step 5, torque all bolts to 80 to 90 degrees. Step 6, torque all bolts to 40 to 45 degrees, and then in step 7 you're only going to torque the middle 2 bolts, both A and B, 40 to 45 degrees. Now this is the angle torque portion of the procedure, guys. If you're using a manual torque wrench, be very careful that you're not over or under torquing. Keep a close eye on what you're doing, because the digital torque wrenches actually vibrate and beep when they're at the desired torque. That being said, if you are using a digital torque wrench, if yours doesn't automatically reset like mine does, you're going to have to push a button on it when you're going from one bolt to another. So it resets and the torque wrench will notice you're torquing a new bolt now. Still doing the angle torque here, guys, but in this clip you're going to see that the engine stand actually moves slightly. When that happens, when you're doing torque angle and you're using a digital torque wrench, you need to start all over. Because what happens is the digital torque wrench thinks you went to 80 degrees or 90 degrees, but the bolt actually turned maybe 30 degrees and the engine stand moved with the bolt the remaining 50 or 60 degrees that you tried to torque it. When you're installing the timing belt, there's a little trick that you can use to make your life a lot easier. Start the timing belt tensioner all the way hand tight, and the tooth idler pulley below it, you want to leave it loose so it can slide back and forth on the bolt. The pulley to the left of the crank pulley, you're going to want to tighten that all the way, hand tight, and the pulley below that, you're going to want to leave off until the timing belt is installed. The timing marks on both cam sprockets and the cam sprocket need to be at the 12 o'clock position, and the timing belt actually has arrows on it indicating the direction that it needs to be turning, which is clockwise in this case. The new timing belt has lines on it. One of them is a dotted line which lines up with the timing mark on the crank pulley, and the other two lines are straight solid lines which line up with the timing mark on the cam sprockets. When I install the new timing belt, I usually work from left to right, and I usually leave the bottom right idler pulley for last. Once you've confirmed your timing marks are all good, you can go ahead and install the final idler pulley and the bottom left. And then you can tighten the idler pulley on the bottom right, which we left loose. This is what the timing belt should look like when it's correctly timed. All the idler pulleys and the timing belt tensioner should be torqued to 30 foot-pounds and then re-torqued to 30 foot-pounds again. Once everything's torqued, you want to get a pry bar or a flathead screwdriver and just put a little bit of pressure on the timing belt tensioner to pre-tension everything and make sure that there's no slack in the belt. On manual transmission cars, the final step is to install this little cover over the crank sprocket. This cover is here to make sure that when the car is decelerating or accelerating, the timing belt isn't skipping on load. You'll know this cover is installed correctly when you can see a slight gap between the belt and the cover, but it's not resting on the belt. You want to make sure that it's not rubbing, because if it is, it can cut into the belt. And that's it for this video series, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Shoot us any comments, any information you guys still need or questions, let us know. And as always, stay classy, crew.